Ever felt like you're constantly trying to measure up? Or, that there's some secret blueprint for being good enough that you just haven't found yet? We often chase external validations, thinking if we just achieve this or look that way, we'll finally feel, well, good enough. But what if true confidence and lasting peace come from an entirely different place? From a deep internal embrace of who you already are. Today, we're taking a deep dive into your journey to self-acceptance. Embrace who you truly are, flaws and all. We've pulled together some incredibly insightful perspectives, from psychological theories like acceptance and commitment therapy to really practical strategies for daily living, and even some powerful personal stories of profound transformation. Our mission really is to cut through the noise and give you clear, actionable insights on cultivating a powerful, resilient sense of self-acceptance.
And that raises a really important question, doesn't it? In a world that's constantly pushing us toward this often unattainable perfection, how do we truly embrace our authentic selves, flaws and all? And crucially, what are the tangible, life-changing benefits when we actually manage to do that? We'll explore how this fundamental shift in perception impacts, well, pretty much everything from our mental health to our relationships and our overall life satisfaction.
Okay, so let's unpack this term first. Self-acceptance. What is it, really? At its heart, it seems to be about your subjective perception of yourself, your personality, your appearance, your abilities, the whole package. It's acknowledging that you're, a complex, imperfect human being, capable of mistakes, absolutely, yes, but also significant accomplishments. You hold a realistic awareness of your strengths and your weaknesses. And crucially, you accept yourself in spite of your imperfections, understand they're just part of being human, maybe even. Right.
And because of your uniqueness, that's a key part. Recognizing that the very traits that make you distinct, even the challenging ones, aren't flaws to be hidden. They're defining characteristics that shape your perspective, your contributions. What's truly fascinating here is that self-acceptance means embracing all your personality traits, the ones you like and the ones you maybe don't like so much, without that harsh judgment or self-criticism. It's about recognizing your inherent worth, your value, regardless of external achievements, failures, or what other people think. It's not about ignoring challenges, not at all. But it's about addressing them with kindness, with courage, and a deep commitment to personal growth.
When I first started looking into this, I think, like a lot of people, I probably used self-acceptance and self-esteem almost interchangeably. But what really came through in the research is this crucial, almost surprising distinction between the two. This is where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah, stepping back for a moment. Self-esteem, traditionally, often refers to our judgments about how much we like or value ourselves. And it's frequently based on comparisons with others or achieving personal goals. Think about it.
Right.
When your self-esteem is tied to external factors like how much money you make, how you look, your job title, even your social media popularity, it can be quite flimsy, can't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a roller coaster.
Exactly. It fluctuates with every success or failure, leaving you really vulnerable to comparison and needing that external validation.
So self-acceptance, in contrast, is described as much more complex, more holistic. It's about seeing yourself for who you really are, beyond just the external stuff, the achievements. It doesn't depend on what happens in your life, which makes it feel much more long-lasting and resilient. It lets you know and accept all parts of yourself, which I guess helps you stop judging yourself so harshly. Precisely. It helps you start being so hypercritical. Self-acceptance is that stable foundation. And on that foundation, a more accurate and sustainable self-esteem can actually be built. It allows for self-compassion, especially when things go wrong. And it frees you from that exhausting, constant need to compare yourself to others. You don't need to feel better than others to feel good about yourself. And that independence from external factors, well, it brings a profound sense of joy and contentment, really.
Okay, so if self-acceptance is this powerful, resilient force, why isn't everyone just doing it? Why don't we all just embrace it? The sources point to some fascinating barriers to self-acceptance that we often, maybe unknowingly, create for ourselves.
Yes, and what's truly insightful here is that despite their varied forms, many of these barriers boil down to a core struggle. We're often fighting against ourselves, trying to reach some unattainable ideal. These are essentially self-inflicted habits, mental patterns that prevent us from accepting our authentic thoughts, beliefs, emotions, actions, even parts of our personality. They include things like beliefs of defectiveness, that inner feeling of being somehow flawed.
That negative self-talk becoming your default lens for everything.
Exactly. And then there's self-criticism and judgment, constantly scrutinizing ourselves, seeing mistakes as proof we're inherently bad.
The social comparison, of course.
Yeah.
Measuring our worth against others.
Which inevitably leads to unrealistic expectations, setting ourselves up for failure by demanding perfection. We also see things like unprocessed trauma playing a role, those lingering symptoms keeping us locked in self-protection mode.
And poor coping styles.
Yeah, maladaptive habits like, excessive eating, addictions, isolating oneself, ways we try to avoid facing ourselves. There's also the fear of vulnerability, being reluctant to be truly open, even with ourselves, let alone others, fearing judgment.
Right.
Seeking self-acceptance for external reasons, like needing others' approval, rather than recognizing our intrinsic worth. That's extrinsic motivation. Even things like being disconnected from our inner child, those foundational needs and desires, or just struggling with poor emotional regulation, finding it hard to accept and process our feelings.
Wow, it sounds like we get caught in this repetitive loop of self-depreciation, just constantly chipping away at our own sense of worth.
It does feel like that sometimes, and this raises an important question. How illogical is that self-depreciation, really? One source used a wonderful analogy I really liked. Imagine a basket of fruit. You look inside, you find beautiful apples, juicy pears, but maybe also a few bruised oranges and some mushy grapes.
Okay.
Would you label the entire basket as totally bad and worthless just because of a few imperfect pieces?
No, of course not. You'd just pick out the good ones, maybe discard the bad.
Exactly. Our traits, our strengths, our weaknesses, they're like those fruits. Rating yourself overall as poor based on a few negative results or what others think, it simply doesn't make sense. You are not your behavior. You are capable of so much, and you are inherently worthy of acceptance, just as you are.
That's such a brilliant analogy. It really makes you pause, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because how many of us have essentially labeled our entire fruit basket as spoiled just because of a few bruised apples, or maybe that one time we completely flubbed a presentation? So what does this all mean for someone feeling stuck in that negative loop? What's the way out?
Well, the key insight for change here is knowing that you do, in fact, have the power to choose self-acceptance. It's not instinctive, maybe not our default setting, especially if we've learned self-depreciation. But the choice is always there to actively engage in kinder, more constructive self-talk and actions.
Okay, so let's talk practical steps then. How do we start to actually dismantle these barriers and build this powerful self-acceptance? Where do we begin?
First off, it's absolutely about transforming our inner dialogue, that internal chatter. One incredibly effective way is to reframe negative thoughts. First, you have to notice them when they pop up. Then pause, question them. Ask yourself, what evidence actually supports or contradicts this thought? So instead of automatically thinking, I always fail, maybe reframe it to something like, okay, I've faced setbacks, sure, but I've also succeeded before, and I can learn valuable lessons from this current challenge.
So actively challenging that automatic negative thought.
Yes. You can even practice this by physically writing down your common negative beliefs and then consciously rewriting them with more positive, compassionate self-talk. Something like, I am a good person, but I'm only human, so yeah, I sometimes make mistakes.
That makes so much sense. It's like interrupting that default negative channel in your brain.
Well,
And connected to that, I saw a lot in our sources about the power of practicing gratitude. It feels simple, maybe almost too simple. Is it really that impactful?
Oh, absolutely. Daily gratitude isn't just a feel-good exercise. It actively helps retrain your brain to focus on the positive aspects of your life and yourself. Even when things seem negative, you actively look for the silver linings. If you failed at something, okay, maybe be grateful for the lessons learned or for the courage it took to try in the first place or for the opportunity to grow. You can even find things to be grateful for within your perceived flaws. Maybe that persistent nature that sometimes comes across as stubbornness, or a thoughtful sensitivity that can occasionally feel like shyness.
Finding the upside in the perceived downside.
Exactly. This practice cultivates a profoundly more optimistic and accepting outlook over time.
And then there's this idea I saw mentioned, going with the flow of life. Now, when I hear that, my mind sometimes jumps to just being passive or giving up. How does this concept, in the context of self-acceptance, differ from just resignation? Is it about truly accepting what is, even if you don't necessarily like it?
That's a vital distinction. It's absolutely not about being passive or resigned. It's about acknowledging reality. Like the weather, life has its ups and downs, its sunny days and its storms. Judging yourself harshly for experiencing struggles or constantly trying to avoid challenges, it only adds layers of difficulty and suffering. Accepting that struggles are a natural, inevitable part of being human allows you to navigate them with far more ease and actually develop true resilience. This includes recognizing that feelings come and go. Finding healthy outlets for them helps, rather than interrupting their natural process by judging them. And thoughts like, what's wrong with me for feeling this anxious, or I shouldn't be sad.
So it's more like accepting the wave is coming rather than trying to stop the ocean.
Precisely. It's about dynamic acceptance, acknowledging what's happening without adding that layer of judgment, not a static surrender.
Okay. And the big theme woven through all of this seems to be compassion, particularly self-compassion. It feels like a core ingredient, maybe even more fundamental than just feeling good about yourself.
Indeed. Self-compassion is often described as giving yourself the same kindness and care you would give to a good friend. And many researchers consider it even more vital for mental well-being than self-esteem, precisely because it helps you be kinder to yourself when you fail, when you mess up. It makes you far more resilient to setbacks. It fundamentally shifts your focus. Instead of just judging the outcome, you measure yourself by your effort and intention. And we know outcomes are often outside our complete control, right?
That reframing, measuring by effort and intention, that feels incredibly freeing. But for many of us, applying that kindness to past mistakes, those moments we truly regret, that can be the hardest part. How does self-compassion really equip us for something as difficult as self-forgiveness? I remember reading a powerful personal anecdote about this. Could you share a bit more about that specific story?
I think hearing how someone actually navigated that process really brings it to life. It's a fantastic question because you're right, self-forgiveness isn't a one-time event. It's a gradual, courageous process. I recall this story about someone who had a really significant falling out with a close friend. In a moment of intense anger, they lashed out, said some truly cruel things, and the guilt just lingered for years, even after a sort of strained apology, just kept replaying in their mind. The key steps they eventually took to move past it really involved a deep dive into self-compassion first. They had to name what was done, clearly articulate their own actions, and take full responsibility without minimizing or blaming the other person. So admitting to themselves, okay, I said hurtful things because I was angry and I lost control. That vulnerability was step one.
Owning it fully.
Exactly. Then, asking for forgiveness, genuinely. This wasn't a quick, I'm sorry if. It was a heartfelt apology to their friend that didn't diminish their own responsibility. Something like, I'm truly sorry for the pain I caused with my words. Number 3, and this is the big one. Forgiving yourself repeatedly. This was the ongoing work. Every single time those negative thoughts surfaced, you're a terrible friend, you shouldn't have done that. They consciously practiced self-forgiveness, almost like a gentle internal mantra. I forgive myself for that moment. I did the best I could with what I knew then.
Treating the thoughts like passing clouds, maybe?
Beautifully put, not like a defining storm. Then, showing up and being seen. For a long time, this person avoided their friend out of shame. Eventually, they forced themselves to attend a mutual gathering. That act of facing the discomfort helped them realize their fears were often bigger in their head. The friend was polite. Things weren't the same, maybe, but the world didn't end. And that experience built incredible wisdom for future relationships.
Showing that vulnerability can lead to growth, not just pain.
Right. And number 5 was being grateful for the mistake. This was perhaps the hardest step, seeing it as an opportunity. The person in the story realized that incident taught them profound lessons about their own temper, about rushing to judgment. They actually became a more patient, discerning, and empathetic person because of it. And finally, radically loving all of who you are. Ultimately, this whole process led to celebrating the person they had become in spite of, or maybe even because of, that past mistake. The mistakes don't define you. How you respond, how you learn, how you grow from them, that's what matters. It was about accepting the past as part of their unique, imperfect journey.
That's a truly powerful journey, and it really highlights how crucial that compassionate self-forgiveness is. It's work, clearly. Now, this deep dive also highlights a specific therapeutic approach, acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, and its take on the self. It seems like a really practical way to build something called
I can certainly try. Yes, ACT aims to increase psychological flexibility, which is essentially your ability to adapt your behavior, to shift perspective, so you can act in line with your personal values even when you're faced with difficult thoughts and feelings. It involves looking at 3 different senses of self to help you get unstuck from those unhelpful patterns. First, there's the conceptualized self. This is basically your life story, the narrative you construct about who you are. I am smart, I am anxious, I am a failure. Now, while having a story gives us a sense of identity, fusing with a negative or limiting narrative can severely restrict your flexibility. If you constantly tell yourself, I'll never amount to anything, that story can absolutely become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So how do you loosen the grip of that story?
ACT uses what it calls diffusion techniques. Think of it like stepping back and seeing the thought as just a thought, not absolute truth. A simple exercise might involve rapidly repeating a self-critical label aloud, like stupid, 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 until it starts to lose its emotional charge and just becomes, well, a sound. A more profound technique involves actively rewriting your life story. You identify objective facts from your past, and then you consciously create alternative endings or interpretations of those same facts. The goal isn't to swap one fixed story for another, but to show yourself you have the power to choose a narrative that allows for more flexibility and growth.
Okay, that's the conceptualized self. What's next?
Next is the knowing self. This is your ability to non-judgmentally notice the full panorama of your ongoing psychological experiences, your thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations right here, right now in the present moment. Many of us instinctively try to push away uncomfortable feelings or thoughts. We have a sort of behavioral deficit here.
Like scrolling through social media or grabbing a snack when you feel anxious.
Exactly. That's our mind trying to avoid those unwanted private events, as ACT calls them. So to strengthen this knowing self, mindfulness is key. Techniques like just noticing whatever comes up internally or externally without judgment. Or an exercise like the soldiers in the parade, where you visualize each thought on a sign carried by a marching soldier just passing by.
Without engaging with them or trying to stop the parade.
Precisely. It helps expand your awareness and reduce that urge to avoid your own experience. It improves your self-image by showing you can handle these internal events.
And the third sense of self.
This one's a bit more abstract, but really powerful. The observing self, sometimes called self as context. This is the transcendent I. It's the consistent vantage point from which you observe all your experiences. It's the you that you call you that is here now and was there then. It's often experienced as no thing, meaning it's not a thought or a feeling or a physical sensation itself. Think of it like the sky.
While thoughts and feelings are the clouds passing through.
Exactly. The clouds come and go, sometimes stormy, sometimes calm, but the sky itself remains untouched, unchanging, always there. That's the observing self. Exercises to strengthen this include things like asking yourself, notice who is noticing, or the I am exercise, where you list personal identifiers, I am a parent, I am my job title, I am anxious, and then mentally cross them off one by one until only the core I am remains.
Wow.
This helps reactivate that sense of a consistent, transcendent self. And this perspective is incredibly powerful because it allows you to hold your thoughts and emotions lightly. You see them as separate from your core self. It frees you up to ask, okay, if these difficult thoughts and feelings aren't me, and if nothing stood in my way, what would I want my life to truly be about? What do I value?
Okay, we spent a lot of time discussing these really powerful internal shifts, reframing thoughts, compassion, ACT. But our journey isn't just internal, is it? Our environment, the people we surround ourselves with, even how we present ourselves to the world, surely these play a critical role in either reinforcing or challenging that inner acceptance. Let's talk about those external reinforcements.
Absolutely critical. A huge piece is consciously choosing your support system. Surround yourself with people who genuinely uplift and encourage you, who see your worth. And if possible, try to reduce time spent with those who are consistently negative, critical, or just draining. This directly helps reinforce your self-worth and validates the journey you're on.
Makes sense. And beyond the people in our lives, our sources also touched on how self-acceptance impacts our professional image, and even something as deeply personal as our body image. These seem like areas where those external pressures can really collide hard with our internal sense of self.
They really are. For professional image, self-acceptance isn't about conforming to some rigid corporate mold. It's more about aligning your outward presentation, your attire, your body language like eye contact, a firm handshake, an open stance, and your communication style, clear, positive language, being collaborative, respectful with genuine professionalism and authenticity.
So it's about confidently presenting your true self in a professional context.
Exactly. It shows respect for yourself and your work. And maybe also considering your online presence, does your social media reflect the professional image you genuinely want to project? Then there's body image, an area where, let's be honest, so many of us struggle intensely due to societal pressures. Self-acceptance here is about recognizing and embracing your natural shape and size. It's about shifting focus from purely aesthetics, from how your body looks, to appreciating what your body can do, whether that's running, dancing, creating art, hugging someone you love, or simply allowing you to experience the world through your senses.
focusing on function over form.
Yes. And this involves actively challenging those unrealistic media beauty ideals we're bombarded with. Maybe taking regular social media breaks to escape that constant comparison trap. Choosing clothing that makes you feel comfortable and confident, not just what's trendy or what you think you should wear to fit in. And prioritizing physical activity for the sheer joy of movement and the health benefits it brings rather than just for weight loss or changing your appearance. It's really about honoring your body as your unique, amazing vessel for life.
So wrapping this all up, what does this all mean for us? Our deep dive into self-acceptance really shows it's not some final destination we arrive at, is it? It's more like an ongoing, courageous journey. It's about consciously letting go of that harsh self-judgment, really understanding the fundamental difference between self-acceptance and that more fragile self-esteem. And actively practicing strategies like reframing negative thoughts, forgiving yourself repeatedly, as you said, and cultivating mindfulness, maybe using techniques like those from ACT.
Absolutely. And to put this in a broader context, embracing who you truly are, flaws, quirks, strengths, weaknesses, the whole package, it isn't just some fluffy feel-good notion. It is the stable foundation for greater emotional regulation, for increased confidence that doesn't waver with every external opinion, for healthier and more authentic relationships, and for profound resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. It truly is the very core of mental well-being and living a genuinely fulfilling life.
So maybe the next time you find yourself caught in that familiar trap of self-criticism or comparing yourself to someone else, perhaps ask yourself, what is the most courageous and empowering thing I could do right now is simply to say, I accept myself right here, right now, no matter what.
Yeah, consider this. If you could truly, deeply embrace your imperfect, unique self, how would your story change starting right now? What possibilities might open up?
We really hope this deep dive has given you some powerful insights and maybe some practical tools to begin or perhaps continue your own journey towards radical self-acceptance. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep embracing yourself.